One of the morning psalms for Tuesdays in the daily lectionary is Psalm 146. This week I thought I would read through the morning psalms for the week before I turn next week to thankfulness, which I thought would be appropriate for Thanksgiving week. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. Psalm 146 asks a very simple and very timely question. Who do you trust for your security? A version of this question regularly appears in one form or another in presidential polls. Who do you trust to best handle the economy? Who do you trust to handle national defense? Who do you trust to keep us safe? You know the kinds of questions I'm referring to. Psalm 146 begins, "Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, O my soul. I will praise the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praises to my God all my life long. Do not put your trust in princes, in mortals in whom there is no help. When their breath departs, they return to the earth. On that very day, their plans perish." That's pretty straightforward, isn't it? I did a little bit of poking around the Hebrew of the passage because I was curious about the word translated here as help. As you know, most Sundays I call us to prepare for worship with these words from Psalm 124, "Our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth." I wanted to know if the same word beneath these two words for help was the same in Hebrew. Turns out the answer is no, they are not the same word in Hebrew. In fact, the words have different enough meanings that I wonder why English translations even render the word here as help. Really, it means something more like deliverance or even salvation, not just help. So what the psalmist is really saying is that placing our trust in princes for deliverance from trouble is ultimately futile. And why? Well, because human princes, presidents, and potentates are mortal. It's not just that they will eventually die as we do and their plans come to naught. It's that they are imperfect and often self-serving. But if not political leaders, then who do we place our trust in? Let's read on. "Happy are those whose help is in the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord their God, who made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, who keeps faith forever, who executes justice for the oppressed, who gives food to the hungry." Well, you just knew this would be the psalmist's answer, didn't you? It's the world of the Bible, after all. But does the Lord step in when things go wrong in our nation and in our world? Not directly, no. We still live in a world in which we have to rely on imperfect, vain, and self-serving political leaders for security. So the question becomes, which political leaders should we place a measure of trust in? And in this, the psalmist doesn't disappoint. Pay attention to the attributes of God here. God is the one who executes justice for the oppressed and gives food to the hungry. Listen further to what the psalmist says next. "The Lord sets the prisoners free. The Lord opens the eyes of the blind. The Lord lifts up those who are bowed down. The Lord loves the righteous. The Lord watches over the strangers. He upholds the orphan and the widow, but the way of the wicked he brings to ruin. The Lord will reign forever. Your God, O Zion, for all generations. Praise the Lord." The Lord is a God, you see, who watches over the poor, the oppressed, and the hungry. The Lord is a God who sets prisoners free, opens the eyes of the blind, and lifts up those who are bent over. The Lord is a God who watches over widows, orphans, and strangers. The upshot? Pay attention to who government leaders prioritize. Do they lift up the poor, or do they secure privileges for those who already have all the privileges they need? It's not just because these are precisely the people prioritizes, it actually speaks to one's purpose in seeking office. Is it ultimately for personal gain, including personal vanity, or is it to serve others? Turns out, the ancient psalmist had some remarkably contemporary advice. Tomorrow, Psalm 147. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.